Hello, and thank you for attending today's webinar on GeoTab. I'll be handling today's presentation. My name is Andy Georgian with STS. I will then hand it off to Stephen Bell, who will give you a review of the online portal. Today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about GeoTab. We'll talk about the plug-and-play nature of the device. We'll go into the 4 telematics priorities. We'll give you an overview of the web portal itself, and then have some time for question and answer. About STS, very simply, STS is making mobility work for you. We've been a premier partner of Sprint since 2004, and we've bridged the gap between technological innovation and the very human need for wireless solutions to help companies achieve their specific objectives. Some core strengths: we have a solution-based consultative approach, understanding of many different verticals, and a collaborative sales and support team. About GeoTab, it's a world leader in GPS management. For over a decade, GeoTab is a proven industry leader in the area of GPS fleet management and vehicle tracking. Fortune 500 companies, including 30% of the top 10 fleets and 10% of the top 100 fleets in North America, rely on GeoTab's technology. If you see a brown truck going down your street, perhaps delivering packages, very good chance that there's a GeoTab unit installed on that vehicle. So we're going to talk about the plug-and-play devices that GeoTab offers, specifically the Go6. Here you see the GeoTag Go6 device itself. That will plug directly into the OBD2 port and provide a wealth of information off that vehicle. Start with engine monitoring. We will be able to pick up all kinds of information off that engine, including battery voltage, fuel consumption, check engine light, etc. Driver ID functionality is available by adding a key fob and a key fob reader to the Go6. We can help improve driver safety by ensuring that seat belts are being used and speeds are being adhered to. We have the ability to interface with a Garmin. The IOX cable will allow the Go6 unit to plug directly into the Garmin, where you will be able to send basic back and forth text messaging, routes, etc. to that device, as well as have all of the core functionality of a Garmin. We have accident detection and recreation available. We also pick up information off of the G4 sensors to monitor hard braking, rapid acceleration, and other driving habits. And most importantly for your organization, we're going to help you reduce fuel cost. You can keep track of driving behaviors that directly lead to increased fuel costs, specifically fuel burned at 0 speed. So the Go6 unit itself, once again, easy plug-and-play installation. You get accurate real-time vehicle tracking, driver behavior capture and coaching, vehicle health and performance, real-time alerts. We offer web-based maps and Excel-based reports. As you can see here, it's plugging very simply into the OBD2 port, and it's about the size of a pack of playing cards. And once again, installation taking all of 30 seconds. So we have a variety of harnesses to be used for vehicle compatibility. You can use any of the harnesses that you see here to ensure that the Go6 unit works with every vehicle within your fleet. We also have some additional harnesses here for further compatibility throughout your organization. The 6 of the 9-pin Deutsch connectors are used in most heavy trucks, but also they could be used in pieces of heavy machinery like CAT or things of that nature. So again, if you've had a need for asset tracking, you now have the ability to track that asset as well as the performance of that asset. So input-output expander, or the IOX cable. It will allow you to get a variety of pieces of information off of the vehicle itself through the GeoTab Go6 unit and back into your organization's system. So once again, we can connect the Go6 to a Garmin, perhaps sensors, perhaps something like temperature in the back of a vehicle, or as a snow plow up or down. Variety of different things we could pick up there from sensors. And then also too, as I stated before, we'll support driver identification through the NFC. So Garmin GPS devices are going to help you with navigation and dispatching integration. You could send two-way communication between drivers and dispatchers, send routes directly to vehicle. Drivers can change their status by touching the screen. Monitors for device disconnection, ensuring a 100% uptime for communication. All messages are verified and timestamped. Driver status information can be color-coded, and all driver information is displayed in a map. Additionally, it's going to offer you all of the same functionality that any Garmin would, with the ability now, as stated, to utilize the GeoTab icon and application within the Garmin itself. Driver identification. NFC driver ID, we're going to link drivers to the vehicles. It's the world's first NFC driver ID with the IOX cable. Driver ID can be combined with vehicle immobilization. We're going to transfer their driver identification up to the cloud. It's again a very simple install, And it's really going to benefit with the scoring reports. 4 telematics priorities. The 4 core pillars that drive GeoTab's ongoing innovation are improving safety, productivity, optimizing fleets, and helping with compliance. Improving fleet and driver safety. Some features that are available: you can monitor compliance through summarized exception reporting, detailing hard corners, seatbelt use, speeding, hard braking events. We recommend creating a custom driver scorecard and geared those towards safety metrics. Driver feedback creates in-vehicle correction for the driver. Much like when you don't wear your seatbelt, the chime occurs in that vehicle until that behavior is changed. The GeoTab solution offers the same type of application. Cost-neutral strategies. Reduce some insurance costs in your organization. If you take a $12,000 annual premium, reduce that by 10%, then 4 months of GeoTab services are in fact cost-neutral. Reduce 1 accident per year. Non-lethal accidents average $16,000 as per the NHTSA, and that's the annual cost of 40 units. Business need or concern. So we had an organization that stated seatbelts were to be worn at all times. They were concerned that that wasn't being adhered to. They had concerns over speeding due to poor planning. So they utilized the exception alert enabled upon seatbelt usage. They created a safety-based driver scorecard as a custom report. These driver scorecards are reviewed monthly with the organization to improve safe driving. Some positive outcomes. This was implemented at a very large pest control organization throughout North America. It's actually the 24th largest fleet in all of North America. Their purchase was driven by the risk department, who implemented a training and enforcement program. After a 3-year period, they've saved in excess of, they believe, over $28 million. Maximizing productivity. So some features that you can be utilized here would be dispatch by closest to. You're going to be able to type in a simple address, see how far away everyone in your fleet is, act accordingly. It's going to cause a reduction in miles traveled and maximize your customer service. You can receive real-time alerts upon entering and exiting zones, and we recommend that you upload all of your core customers as zones. Some cost-neutral strategies here. 1 extra job, stop, or delivery per month, assuming a minimum of $33, is going to make this a cost-neutral project for you. Review your trip detail reports and ensure that drivers are not traveling duplicate routes. Ensure that all customers are loaded as zones to improve customer service and also field transparency. A reduction of 60 miles traveled per month, or 2 miles per day, is going to pay for this solution. So again, another case study. We had a client that wanted to see how much time their sales and delivery staff was spending with the customer. The client uploaded all of their top tier customers into the system as zones, which provided visibility into how the field is interacting with these core customers. Some positive outcomes. The client is reviewing the data collected on time spent with customers to revise their routes. They're also sharing this data with their customers, and it's serving to strengthen bonds with their distribution channels. Improving fleet management. Review fuel consumption directly from the ECM. Ensure that vehicles are obtaining their targeted miles per gallon. Receive real-time alerts based upon engine issues. Send geocoded emails to fleet managers complete with vehicle codes and descriptions. Cost-neutral strategies. Reduce fuel consumption by 8 gallons a month. Our fuel consumption report details total miles driven, fuel used, and fuel burned at 0 speed. O2 sensors cost almost a 40% reduction in MPG. We pick up that information again off of the ECM from the OBD2 port in the unit. 1 preventative repair from a check engine light annually. The average cost for repair of a check engine light is $367, or the annual cost of GeoTab service. Catalytic converters are the 3rd most common issue and will cost over $1,000 to repair. Another case study. We had a business that wanted to reduce fuel consumption and miles traveled daily, like anyone would. They wanted to improve their preventative maintenance cycles. GeoTab features utilized. The fuel report was batched weekly to internal stakeholders. The driver feedback function was enabled to discourage idling and speeding. Real-time alerts were sent to the mechanic when the check engine light issues were present. Some positive outcomes. After just 3 months, miles traveled reduced by 12%, and fuel consumption is lowered by 31%. That's a $363 reduction in cost per vehicle per month. Additionally, there's a reduction in vehicle downtime due to improved repair process. Ensuring compliance. Features. Produce IFTA compliant miles by state logs passively. Total miles driven by state are recorded for each vehicle. Hours of service solution is available that meets federal regulations. Some cost-neutral strategies. Reduce back office paperwork by 1 hour a week. Streamline reporting on miles by state and logs with batch reporting of Excel worksheets. Eliminate 1 DOT fine annually. An average fine for a driver failing to complete a record of duty status is $8,000, or the annual cost of 20 units. Business need or concern? Miles by state have been self-reported historically and compiled by back office staff. GeoTab feature utilized. Miles by state report batched monthly to the administrative staff, thus allowing them to simply input the information cleanly into the needed systems without tracking down pieces of paper internally. Positive outcomes of the organization: an estimated reduction of 10 hours of labor for the staff, creating $150 of savings monthly to the organization. Now the HOS solution will also be implemented to further streamline back office reporting. Rollout process. Any organization will look at a project like this and think about how they're going to be able to sell this internally, and also how it will be managed and supported. Some best practices to share here. Implement the GeoTab solution in a location and measure the results in month 0 with no alerts being sent to the drivers or management in real time. Batch reports to stakeholders weekly to include fuel, client-identified exceptions such as speeding and seatbelt, idling time, miles driven, and engine fault. After 30 days, implement real-time alerts, driver feedback, and then have a staff meeting to present the solution and the expectations. We recommend introducing the driver scorecard to the team and perhaps building an incentive program. At the end of the 60 days, ensure that the reduction in expenses creates a net zero cost for the monthly service. Some Gartner data would indicate that these projects on average save a 10% reduction in miles and an 8% reduction in fuel. We encourage you to use the information that you collected in the first 30 days or month 0 and compare that against the reduction in fuel and miles realized over the next 30. With that, I will hand it over to Stephen Bell. Stephen will walk through the My GeoTab portal with you and its features and functionality. Stephen?
Thanks, Andy. So to show you what the GeoTab portal looks like, what you're looking at here is the actual GeoTab Dashboard. This is where managers will be able to view the data of the vehicles and how they are monitoring that data from a day, weekly, or monthly process. A couple of great features about this portal is that it doesn't require any additional software to be installed on any customer computer or terminal. This information is all stored on the cloud and can be accessed on any computer just using a simple internet browser. This portal will operate really easily using browsers such as Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, or Firefox. Today we're just going to use Google Chrome as an example of this portal. Another great feature about this is it allows managers and users of this system to be able to access this on a work computer, on a home computer, and not require them to log in or log out every hour without use. So today we're going to go through and show a lot of the features and systems that will also relate to the information Andy's already provided. So when we're looking at this dashboard, you're going to be able to see a lot of great information, such as the watchdog report. This is going to provide you information about vehicles in the field and if they're communicating, if there's any vehicles that might not be installed, and how they're actively being reported. You'll also notice that this report is updating very frequently to make sure that we're providing real-time feedback. As I scroll down here, you're going to be able to see a lot more information about a driver scorecard. This is going to help you understand how your vehicles are operating individually as well as against the entire fleet as a whole. Then you can begin to understand what the average is and maybe identify some users who might have some additional coaching that might be required. You can also then begin to see additional reports. In this case, they've got idling reports built out on a yesterday basis as well as a monthly basis that will help target certain drivers that might have some excessive idling events. Keep in mind that everything you're seeing here on this dashboard can be customized, as well as all these reports can be built out to be sent on a scheduled notification. So you can be having these reports sent to those managers and those directors daily, weekly, monthly, at the end of every shift. Whatever's needed can be met. It's meant to be dynamic. The next thing I want to talk about is kind of the hierarchy of how this system is built out. When looking at the group hierarchy for the entire organization, it's really important to make sure that you're building out the entire organizational chart. Where this becomes important is when you start adding vehicles and users to specific groups. It can be by region, by district, or by certain location. Once you start attaching vehicles and users to these groups, it really helps attach right information to the right personnel so they're seeing information that is specific to them and their need. That way you have district managers only viewing district information and they're not being totally bombarded with a lot of regional information that might not be necessary for them and their current objective. So once this is built out between the organizational hierarchy, then we start adding users at different security levels. Maybe you have administrators, maybe you have default users, maybe you just have some view-only type status situations. And then as you start adding vehicles, you can begin then to show a lot of information. So I show you a specific vehicle here. You're going to be able to get a lot of information about what can be tracked. You're going to have device descriptions. You're going to see the serial number associated with the vehicle. You're also going to be able to pick up the VIN, the odometer, and the engine hours. License plate can be added as well as specific comments. This will allow you the ability to really put in great information associated with this vehicle. You can use asset numbers, vehicle names, driver names, or it could be as simple as the big black truck. Whatever is necessary for you and your organization is going to allow you the ability to create everything here and view it continually. So once you have all of your vehicle information set up, that way you're going to be able to reference that information from reports as well as viewing information on a map. So let's jump to the map section. When looking at the map, this system uses Bing's mapping for all of its information. Now here you can see I have the continental US as well as Canada and Mexico, and I can quickly access my list of vehicles and be able to pull up that vehicle at any given time and see exactly what that vehicle is doing. So in this case, I can see the vehicle is driving. I can also hover over the vehicle to see the current rate of speed that the vehicle is traveling. I can also see the location in which this vehicle is located. I can also see the current speed limit on that road to know that this vehicle is not exceeding the speed limit. This allows for a great information to be able to see what the vehicle is currently doing. Maybe I want to see what the vehicle has done over the course of the day. This is going to allow me to be able to view the trip history report and understand where this vehicle has gone. This in essence is really the breadcrumb trail for this vehicle over the course of this day, where I have options to look at maybe previous days, weeks, months, or even set up a custom parameter. And by using this, I have the ability to look at entire fleet, or I can look at a single vehicle and the route that they took. I can begin to understand throughout the course of this route where they traveled and the current speed at which they traveled throughout that route. Here we can see that the vehicle has changed its speed just throughout a small drive from one location to another. You'll also notice this Publix location number 165. As I pan this map around and I zoom in, you can begin to understand that this is actually a zone in the system. If I move and add a satellite view, we can see where this location is actually at on a map, and we can understand how the vehicle might interact with this location. This is a great example of adding a customer zone in the system. I can also turn on the entire breadcrumb trail for this vehicle and understand the exact routes that were taken, as well as I can change my different map features depending on what is necessary. I can also begin to see when there's other rules that have been broken, maybe a speeding violation, or some idling in this situation. These are some of those events Andy had mentioned in the past regarding safety or monitoring excessive fuel usage. This is how you can see these real time from a breadcrumb trail from just a single vehicle driving throughout the day. The next portion I want to cover is talking about the rules that are set up for these vehicles that can help you monitor this information. So as I move down to rules, you're going to be able to see a lot of information that's provided here and how it's all laid out. The first three rules I want to touch on are all revolving around the accelerometer that Andy had mentioned previously. This is going to help you monitor and be able to track driver safety as well as driver behavior. So in this case, we're looking at harsh braking, hard acceleration, and harsh cornering, all built around what kind of vehicle profile these devices are installed in. In this case, we're monitoring for very large semi-trucks towing very large trailers delivering equipment. We want to be able to make sure that the drivers are operating these vehicles properly and they're not experiencing any of these events unnecessarily. In this case, if any of the drivers experience a hard brake or a hard acceleration event that they could have avoided, the system's going to be able to read that information and be able to provide direct feedback to the driver. So two things will happen. The information is going to show up on a report letting them know that a hard acceleration or a harsh braking event has taken place with a specific driver, a date, time, and location. But what's also going to happen is a device is going to beep rather loudly and let the driver know that the event that just took place is an event that should be avoided. And that will help curb the driver behavior in this situation to help them become a safer driver in the future. Keep in mind these beeping alerts can be turned off and turned on for every rule that I'm going to show here today. This way you can turn things off and only monitor them on a report if necessary. As I scroll down, you're going to see a lot of other rules, some of which may be turned on, some of them might be turned off. Speeding, in this case, we can turn this on and we can be able to monitor the speed of a vehicle against the posted speed limit. In this case, I'm only monitoring speeding events that might exceed 6 miles over the posted speed limit. So in this case, if a vehicle is doing 41 and a 35, I'm going to get information on that incident. I'm going to be able to get it on a report, and if I wanted to, I could provide email feedback or beeping alerts to the driver so we can get real-time information. I can also disable rules at any time and make sure that maybe I don't really need to monitor that information depending on what might be necessary. Seatbelt information. This is another one that Andy had mentioned, where I can begin to understand what drivers are operating with their seatbelts on or off. I can provide beeping notifications to these drivers to remind them that they need to be wearing their seatbelts. There's some other rules in the system that might not be necessarily used, but you can begin to see the flexibility and the differences between each of these rules to monitor specific information. Possible accidents being another one. Might be very important for you to know real time when drivers might have engaged in an accident depending on the information that's being provided from that accelerometer data. A great thing to note here, it is really important for customers to install the device correctly, properly, and out of the way to make sure that you're not getting false data on this type of rule. Idling, another great piece of information Andy spoke on earlier. This is a great way to reduce fuel costs instantly. You're going to be seeing savings automatically from just reducing idling times. Whether you have a driver who's doing paperwork on site while the vehicle's on, or you have somebody who's just not really paying attention to the amount of time that the vehicle sits between stops, between deliveries, or while in the vehicle's fleet yard. Once this value is set, it will begin to monitor time idled based on gear position and the vehicle being stopped. You're not going to have to worry about idling events at a red light or at a stop sign. Those items are going to be removed, so you're not going to have that additional noise in the report. Again, you can turn beeping on. You can also turn on email notifications so managers can get this information. Again, going back to that real-time feedback. A lot of other rules here that can be listed. Not going to cover too much on all of them. I really want to focus on talking about engine maintenance. Really being able to monitor what the engine's doing. The check engine light that comes on in a vehicle is very important to monitor. This can be a high priority or a low priority warning. Anytime that check engine light comes on, you're going to be able to get direct visibility on what that issue is. For a mechanic, it's very helpful for them to know that when the check engine light comes on, it's regarding something, maybe an O2 sensor that has failed on bank 2. That tells them a lot more information than just a check engine light is on for vehicle 123 at a specific location. When they know that an O2 sensor's gone down on a specific bank, now they know the exact part maybe that they need to order and have in-house by the time the vehicle comes back to the shop for repair. It allows for a lot shorter downtimes, as well as when low priority information comes across, that will really help prevent major issues. Maybe you have higher engine temperatures, maybe you have poor exhaust on an emission standpoint. A lot of these different things can be monitored just based on a single rule. Then we can talk about monitoring batteries. Battery drain is very important. This is going to help mechanics be able to monitor voltage in vehicles, and depending on how low those voltage meters are reading, they can begin to really monitor. Maybe vehicles are sitting in a yard for a couple of weeks at a time, and that way they can be able to prevent dead batteries due to zero or low usage over the course of that time. It's important to keep those batteries charged at a healthy level. That way they don't dissipate and become unuseful and have to be replaced. The last rule I was going to mention, talking about unauthorized device removal. This is a great rule to help monitor tampering, to make sure that the device isn't uninstalled, maybe for a couple of hours during a trip, and reinstalled. Anytime that event takes place, you're going to be able to get information on those events, whether it's an email sent to a manager, or showing up in a report that might be sent out daily or weekly. It's another great level of security to make sure that your devices are constantly staying in the vehicles, providing the right information to reducing costs. Once the rules are set up in the system, this is going to allow you the ability to really get back to these dashboards. This dashboard is what's really going to provide a great amount of information depending on what's necessary. Going back to that driver scorecard or idling reports, whatever might be necessary in the system. As well as there's a lot of other great information here. You can look at engine data, as well as you're going to be able to look at fuel usage reports and set up maintenance reminders. A lot of different things can be built around this system depending on the needs of each customer. It's meant to be flexible and dynamic. One last thing I wanted to bring up was hours of service, as this is a new feature that GeoTab is providing and a really big need for a lot of customers due to a lot of new federal regulations. I'm going to actually change portals at this time to show you a portal that's set up more specifically to hours of service and what those logs look like. These are the HOS logs that are being reported for this specific vehicle. You can see the date in which I'm reviewing this information, and I can actually pull information in a specific time frame based on a specific driver that's been loaded into the system. Once I have this information, I can then get plenty of information depending on what I'm trying to find. As I scroll all the way to the bottom, I can begin to see when drivers go to driving status, when they've been on duty, when they've been in sleeper berth. I can also see the date and time, the locations that these have taken place, as well as maybe a trailer asset number that's been associated with a specific vehicle. A couple of other great items here. I can begin to understand if there are any warnings that have taken place during that time to be able to help reduce violations due to the federal mandate. I can make changes to those logs if necessary from an administrative standpoint. My driver can verify their logs, that's what this little check mark is showing, as well as I can show any time there might have been an edit to those logs by an administrator. This is very, very helpful for drivers that have had to keep paper logs in the past. They're cumbersome and they take a lot of work from the driver to be able to stay on top of, and the driver has to remember all the different federal regulations. We remove all of that by implementing the Garmin device. That Garmin device is going to allow drivers to be able to just change their status updates from driving, on duty, off duty, sleeper berth, maybe even a passenger that's driving, and it will provide them feedback and information if they're about to violate a law or a regulation, and that way they can operate and make sure things are happening appropriately. This is what you can expect to see from drivers monitoring their logs and providing that feedback back to the portal. This is what is going to make a lot of things easier for back-end office management to make sure these logs are done properly and effectively. You can also be able to pull a compliance print of all verified logs that you can store on site to be able to meet that federal regulation. This is going to provide you an ultimate solution in being able to see all of the information that your vehicles are tracking, and this can cover a lot of different items. You'll also see there's IFTA miles compliance here. You can get speed graphs, along with a lot of different rules in the system, being able to look at devices on a map directly, as well as going back to those different summary reports and pulling information. All this is stored in one place that can be accessed on the internet with a specific browser. Doesn't really require any major software to be installed. That's the beauty of this system. Thank you for taking the time today to be able to listen and understand more about GeoTab. This should provide you a lot of really direct and specific information that you can use as examples and tools to be able to find the right opportunities in your areas with the right solution. You're not going to have to worry about picking the right solution based on the vehicle. This solution will meet it all.